Hi, welcome back to Therapy Designs. If you're new to this channel, my name is Kelly, and this channel is all about teaching you how to create print-on-demand designs using Canva. So if that is something that you're interested in, please do stick around. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over how to create this design right here. It says Master Builder, and we've got some building blocks, and we've gone ahead and matched the colors from the graphic to the custom text that we went ahead and use a clipping mask on. If you are interested in learning how to do this or interested in learning about this niche, go ahead and stick around. So as always, we're going to start with our blank backgrounds. This is 4500 by 5400 pixels. I will be designing specifically for black today, but again, you can always do whatever color you want. I'm going to come to the top left-hand corner here. I'm just going to select black for my background color, and so this is where I'm starting. For today's design, we're going to do another popular niche. It's a little building block niche. I'm not going to specifically name the brand of the building blocks, but I'm sure you guys can figure it out. But you just want to kind of title it with generic building blocks. So what I'm going to write is going to be Master Builder. And so you may have seen this on Amazon, some of the Master Builder designs. I did go ahead and do a little trademark search. Master Builder is still safe to use. It is not trademarked. So I'm going to start by pulling up a text box. So I'm going to hit T on my keyboard here. And I'm going to do this in all caps. I'm going to go ahead and put Master, and then on the next line, Builder. And so this is what I'm going to go with right here. Now we are going to have to pick a font. What I'm going to do for this is I'm going to use a clipping mask of these building blocks and put it inside the letters here. So I want these letters to be thick. I want them to be bold because I do want to be able to put images inside of them. So I'm going to look for a font that is going to be big, thick, bold. Again, I can come up here and I can search for bold fonts and see what comes up. And so there's lots of different options here. Something like that is really thick and bold. And so that might actually be a good one right there. But let's see. I had already looked. Oh, nope. I don't know what I picked. Okay, so that might be a good one right there. That's nice and thick. They're spaced tightly together. I can always go ahead and with the line spacing, because I don't want the line space that far apart, bring the line spacing pretty close together, something like that. And stretch this out so it is taking up a good amount of this page. I do sort of like the way that one looks, so that's kind of cool. The more narrow the font you choose, the larger you have to make it in order to fill the screen from left to right. So if you pick a good narrow font, you're going to make it fit really well. So it's going to, fill a good amount of your page versus, for example, let's go ahead and pick a wide font, something nice and wide. Do I have anything that's not condensed? Something like that's a little bit wider. So if I do that one there and I'm going to have to shrink this way down just to make my points here. Pull it out, bring it over. I'm gonna have to shrink it way down. Okay, so if you did something that's a little bit wider, something like that, now it is not filling nearly as much of my page. So especially if you were doing just an all text design and you really want to fill the whole page to make it big, the more narrow the font, the better it is going to be. So just a little FYI. So that was just my little example there. So I was gonna go back up. Let's see what I had here. Again, I was looking for something nice and bold. I want it to have a little bit of a squared look to it because a nice squared look will go well with my building block style design, right? So formula, bold, bold. Where was I? Onto bold. That's a good one too right there. I think I had it on right there, formula, bold. This depends how much I want it to fill my page. Might do something more like this. Let's see how much this is going to fill it. Okay. So for this one, I don't want the text to fill the entire page because I do want to go ahead and put a little graphic down here. So if I want to make sure I have room to save for my graphic, I kind of got to look at the text and figure out how big I want it in relationship to the size that I want to save for my graphic. But this looks pretty good. I do want them spaced a little bit closer together, right? Something like that. This is one that I can go ahead and put in bold, so I can make extra bold. There it is. That looks pretty good there. I could always space the letters closer together if I wanted to. So let's say I wanted to make it even a little bit tighter. I can take this letter spacing and I can bring it in just a little bit. So that's -53. How about -49? So now it almost looks like they're touching, but not quite. If I do that, I can go ahead and make this a little bit bigger still. And so let's say I do that. I like that. It fills up the whole page or the whole top of the page, still leaves room for a graphic down here, still nice and bold. So this is the one I'm going to go with. So I'm going to use this as a frame here, and I'm going to go ahead. It says Master Builder. So I'm just going to download this transparent background PNG, and that is going to be my frame. Perfect. So what I want to do now is get my mask, and my mask is going to be some certain blocks. So I'm going to come up to Elements, and you can do searches different ways. I could type in the name of the block and see what comes up. I am looking for photos, so I can put see all, and so here are some awesome photos of said building block. Lots of different ways I can go. What's going to look the best and be the easiest is, and especially the easiest to read, would be something like this, something that is one solid color and pretty simple to read. Now, if I was to go ahead and turn this, I could put it over the top here. Now, if I was to make it fill the whole screen, for example, these dots are going to get really big, and it's going to be kind of hard to read on my letters. So I always want to look at the size of these dots and think about the frame that I'm filling it in and be like, that's too big. So what I want to do is shrink it way down until it is about whatever size I would like it to be, to make sure that I can actually, see the dots within the design. So I might even go something as small as that, right? Let me send this to back, send to back, and something like that would look good. I can come up to transparency here and bring it down, and now I can see how the dots are going to kind of line up on my design, and that looks pretty cool. I can actually tell that there are, those building block designs. So let's go ahead. Let's say I want to do that. I do like that. I'm going to go ahead. And with this, I'm just going to click on it. If I hit Control D, it will duplicate it. And then I'm going to go ahead and just slide it over and start putting them side by side, just like that. Control D, oops, Control D. And again, slide it on over, making sure that there's no gaps. One more time, Control D, slide it on over so it has filled. And so right there, that could be one of my frames in and of itself. So if I did that, I would have this all in just this one color. But let's say I wanted to make this two different colors because, hey, let's say I wanted the top word to be one color and the bottom word to be another color. No worries. Here's what I can do. I can take these and I can drag them up so they only cover that top word right there. Okay. And last one right here. Perfect. Now I am going to go ahead, bring this on. Okay. Make sure I have it rotated the same direction because I want it to be uniform with this top. I want them all to be the same size too. So again, making sure it looks nice and uniform. I want it to be the same size as the ones up top. I want them to have the same orientation. I want them to be lined up pretty good. But now I want to change the color. So to change the color, there's a few ways we can do it. I like one more than the other. So if I come up to Edit Image, duotone is one way that you can always change the colors, but sometimes it might look a little flat. So if I'm looking down here at some of these duotone ones, I kind of lose some of the contrast in some of them, and I don't want to lose the contrast. So I'm not going to use duotone to change the color. This time what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use my color mix. And so the color mix is a cool effect because now I can pick some of the color mix colors. And so let's say I want the bottom color to be sort of more of an orange color, right? I can totally do that. Click orange, and there you go. So now I've got that orange color. I can click apply. And if I give it a second to make sure it's all good and finalized, all I have to do now is copy and paste this. So I can click that and click Control D and bring over the next one. Control D, bring over the next one. Control D, bring over the next one. Perfect. And so that's what I'm going to go ahead and use for my mask. So I'm going to have kind of green up top and then orange on the bottom. I can always flip them and put the orange on top and the green on the bottom. You can do it however you want and use whatever colors you want. You could also use, I'm going to show you another example. I'm going to Control D. I'm going to bring this one down. I could change the color again. So let's say I was to take this one and change the color again. I'm going to come up to Edit Image, go to Color Mix. It is now going to give me some different options. So now I have more of some red, right? I have a yellow that wasn't there before. I've got a blue. So depending on what color I start with, my options here are going to be a little bit different. So we started with the green and we're able to change it to this orange. If I start with the orange, I can now change it to different colors here. Problem is, the more I do this, the more I'm going to start to lose some of that detail and contrast. So I can still do it. Let's say I'm going to go with my yellow here, and that doesn't look too bad. I still am able to keep some of the detail there. But let's say I wanted to go to Arctic. I have lost a lot of the detail in Arctic. So I no longer see a complete circle. I don't think that looks very good. So I might not want to go with Arctic. The yellow one actually is doing a good job, maybe just because it's lighter. I can see it a little bit better. But again, the red, I'm kind of losing that top detail. So the red one doesn't look very good either. I don't think that looks very good. You could always do rainbow. That's a really weird effect, but just so that you can kind of see, sometimes you have to play with some of these features to figure out what works best. And so this is just one of those ones that I've played with to, you know, kind of see what's going to look the best there. But so I could go ahead and have my yellow one here. And so this is how I can get different colors. And again, if I was to go to the yellow, let it finalize here. So it's finalized. If I wanted to go to my yellow one again and take a look at color mix again, it's giving me some more different options this time, kind of a highlightery color. Again, I'm losing a lot of detail, so none of these look particularly good in terms of detail. If I was to go back and try like the duotone with it, because that was the other way that you could go about doing this, would be duotone. And duotone, you can pretty much select whatever colors you want using, you know, your highlight and shadow feature. So shadows, you know, I would go with black. Highlights, I could, let's say I wanted red. I could do that, and that kind of works a little bit. So if I went with maybe a lighter red, something like that. So I can definitely change the colors. If I wanted it to be a bright red, it's pretty dark there. But you could see how I could go ahead and change some of the colors this way. I like that green color is a little bit brighter there. And so there we go. So duotone, actually, this one's working pretty well as long as I use my black for my shadows. So far, I'm keeping a lot of good detail there. So that's another way that you can go ahead and change some of those colors. And so actually, I kind of like that. That's not too bad. Okay, well, I'll hit apply. That way you can just see. So there are different colors, and once you have the color that you want, again, you would just copy and paste and make it fill whatever size page you want, depending on how big you want those dots to be. So if you wanted those dots to be really small, I could shrink this down more. If I wanted those dots to be really big, obviously I could blow it up more. But, you know, pick your color and then do the copy and paste, right? Once you have it exactly as you would want it. But I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. I'm going to use this as my mask. So I'm going to go ahead and just put block mask. And I'm going to download this. as is. And give it a second, and then we will jump over to Photopea really quick. So I can use my mask. Okay, perfect. So now I'm on Photopea. I'm going to go ahead, open from my computer. I'm going to open my master builder frame. There it is, master builder. Then I'm going to go ahead, go back up to file, open in place, and from my downloads, I am now going to pick my block mask. It's going to pull my block mask up on top. Now I'm going to come up to the top. I'm going to go over to the right to where it says layer, click that about halfway down, clipping mask. I can click on that, and there you go. So now I've got my kind of building block designs in there. Now I can always play with, again, the size. So let's say, ooh, you know, maybe I wanted the dots to be a little bit smaller, or maybe for this one I wanted to bring them down a little bit more because they're getting cut off at the top. I mean, no worries, I can jump right back over to my Canva page, and I can always, you know, one, use some transparency to make sure that I see where the dots are lining up. So if I had done that, maybe I would look and see, ooh, I don't like where those dots are lining up. Maybe I want to bring them up a little bit, maybe something like that lines up a little bit better, or maybe if I wanted to move it over to the right a little bit, you know, but I do need it to line up with the top too. So I could do, something like that, but then I would have to line all of these up as well. But that is one way that you can be very specific. And of course, I could always look at it and be like, oh man, I think I want those dots to be smaller still. And so I could even shrink it down more. And actually, I think that might look better. So let's say I do like that. I'm going to get rid of my transparency, but I do like this size. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shrink them all down to that size. And no problemo. Make sure they're all the same size. Boop. And if I need to add one more, and I do, I can hit Control D and add one more. Boom. Something like that. And again, I can use my little arrow keys to make sure it's all lined up perfectly. I can also zoom in to make sure it's all lined up perfectly. Now, if I did it this way, I would have two different sizes. So that might look cool if you wanted it to be two different sizes. If you want the top word to have the same size dots as the bottom word, though, we would have to do this again. No problem again. But I would have to shrink it down until it is the same width. And oops, so because I already cropped these down, I would just sort of have to start over, which is no big deal because this was the original color. So if I was to do that, again, be sure you rotate it the right way. So the shadows are always going in one direction. So right here, the shadows are down and left. If I was to have rotated this the other way, now I would have the shadows up and to the right, and they would not look the same. So if you're going for a uniform nature with certain things, you want to take that into consideration. So I am going to shrink it down so that it lines up right there. And I can crop it on up, something like that. And so now all the dots are lined up. They're just the right size. I'm going to repeat my process. There you go. Easy peasy. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. I think I've got a little bit of gaps in here where I'm kind of got some breaks. So I do see some line breaks. So I can just use my arrow key on each one of these just to move it over. It'll move it 1 pixel at a time until they are totally touching. Just making sure I don't have any breaks in between the graphics. I don't want any blanks in my thing. And then I have to do the same thing, make sure that the bottom ones are all lined up perfectly. Again. So now let's go ahead and do this again. So I've redone the block mask and I've made it even smaller. So I can now download it again. And then we'll go back to Photopea and we'll redo the mask and we'll see which one looks better, the bigger dots or the smaller dots. And so it's always a good idea that you leave your original template alone. because you can always go back and make alterations. And in fact, if you like the original template, I could go back now and change out the colors and everything else. So, you know, always leave your original stuff alone. And now let's go back over to Photopea. So here is the first one I made with the dots, okay? And they were kind of big. So now let's go File, Open in Place, and let's do our new one, Block Mask number 2. And there it is, and we're just gonna go ahead, layer, we're gonna layer a clipping mask. So we layered our clipping mask, and so now we can see the smaller dots. And I do actually think I like the smaller dots better because I think it makes it more clear what we're looking at, right? So I'm gonna stick with this one. I do like this one. So I'm gonna go ahead, File, Export as a PNG. Give it a second and we will, here we go. Master Builder PNG 4500, 5400. I'm just gonna go ahead and save that. And then I can jump right back over to my Canva page. I'm gonna bring that down. Now I can go ahead and add a page just because I don't necessarily want to mess with this yet. So I'm just gonna go ahead and go to page 2. I'm gonna go over to my uploads and I'm gonna upload the image that I just made. Give it a sec. Okay, perfect. Now I can just click on it. It's gonna bring it over here. I'm gonna crop it down so it's easy to work with. And bring it right across. Now from here, I could, if I wanted to, put an outline around the letters. I do that sometimes, especially if I want them to stand out. I think I'm going to leave it alone right now. I'm not going to put any outline because also sometimes that makes it harder to read. So there's kind of a plus and minus. It makes it so that you've got a good contrast against the background, but it can also blur the letters together. So I'm going to leave it alone. And now I want to find a nice graphic to put down here. So I can go back up to Elements, and I'm still on my original search for my building block. And I can come down here and I can look at different, obviously different graphics. So like there's a graphic, for example. And so you can look through different things, see if you find any that you like. Again, I'm on photos at this point. I could go over to graphics and see if there are any graphics that I like. So like here's another one that was a graphic, and this is more the official style. This is obviously another brand with the little hollow points there, but that's okay. And you can look to see if there's any designs that you might want to include in here. For example, here we have a little car, and so that kind of looks cool. There's our little car I could do. So lots of different fun ways that we could go with this. I did find, as I was looking, I don't think it was under here. I think I went ahead and I put building blocks and searched for my graphics. And I think I had found a little airplane that looked pretty cool. We'll see if I can find it again. If not, it's saved in my recently used because I did just find it. So there are my building blocks. Here's one. So for example, there we go. And this one's gonna allow me to change the colors. So now I can go ahead and match my top one. So I could do something like, there we go. Let's go ahead and I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna use my add new color and use my eyedrop feature to go over and to try to match the green from the top here. I'm gonna go ahead and try to match now my red. I'm gonna change it to match this orange. So I'm gonna add new color, go to my eyedropper. I'm gonna hover over the orange, see if I can try to match that orange as close as possible. Then I've got my outlines. Right now it has the outline in the sort of a bluer color. I'm gonna go ahead, switch that outline to black. There we go. And so now that looks pretty cool. There's my design with my master builder, and it all looks like it kind of goes together. So that is how, yeah, that's all I'm gonna do for this one. I like that. But there's a lot of different ways you can go with this. Obviously, you can look around, look at the graphics. Sometimes it takes, searching for the right thing for a while. And you don't know it until you see it sometimes. But this is a popular niche, especially with little kids. Just again, be careful with your wording because you don't want to use any kind of trademarked or copyrighted brand in your title or description or tags or anywhere on your paper. So you got to keep it pretty generic. So generic building block design. So I'm going to call this Master Builder. And I'm going to go ahead and just put plain. And I'm going to save this. So I'm going to download it. Transparent background. I only need the second page. So page 2, done and done. And so this is downloading. If you have any questions about this technique or how to change colors of graphics or anything like that, again, you can drop it in the comment section below. I'll try to get back to you as quickly as I can. I still hope you guys are doing well and making some good sales, and more importantly, having some fun and, you know, being creative and making some cool, unique and original designs. Okay, so take care. Hope to see you again. That's it for today's video. If you found this useful and would like to see more videos with helpful tips and tricks, be sure to hit like and subscribe and turn on your notifications so you don't miss any of the weekly videos. As always, keep growing and stay creative, and we'll see you next time.